My boyfriend's ex refused to leave the house because I'm rich and her kids despise me. Then I exposed their affair, sold the place, and walked away free. Am I in the wrong for asking my boyfriend's ex to leave our place? Let me lay out the situation for you. I'm a 35-year-old woman, and my partner is a 41-year-old man. We've been together for a lovely 7 years, building our life side by side. Both of us have experienced marriage and subsequent divorce in our pasts, which has shaped how we approach our current relationship, especially when it comes to financial matters. We've both embraced the idea of financial independence within our partnership, meaning we keep our finances and personal belongings distinctly separate. To put it simply, what's mine is strictly mine, and what belongs to him is exclusively his. Given this background, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on whether it was wrong of me to ask my boyfriend's ex to leave our shared space. It's a decision that wasn't made lightly, considering our principles of independence and respect for personal boundaries. I'm here to gain some insight and understand if my actions were justified, or if I might have overstepped. I'm child-free, and through years of hard work, I've established a comfortable position in my career. My boyfriend, on the other hand, earns less than I do, and is also responsible for a significant amount of child support. He's committed to supporting all 5 of his children's extracurricular activities, which is something I admire deeply. Given this situation, we've come to an understanding that I cover all our living expenses, including mortgage, loans, and groceries, while he contributes to our household in any way he can, especially in caring for his children when they're with us. 5 years back, I made the decision to purchase a house for us, making sure it was a place where his kids could feel at home and welcome during their visits. This decision, however, sparked quite a bit of controversy. His ex accused me of attempting to overshadow her by providing for the children in a way she perceived as flaunting my financial status. Her exact words were that I bought the house not out of kindness, but to show off and make a statement about my own superiority. From the beginning, I've made it a point to keep a respectful distance from his ex, especially considering their divorce was fraught with complications, which she unjustly blamed on me even though I hadn't even met my partner until almost a year after their separation. To add to the complexity, she has a history of domestic violence against him, and my involvement in their lives has only intensified her animosity. About a year and a half ago, I was presented with an incredible job opportunity, but it required us to move 12 hours away from where we lived. This move, while beneficial for my career and our future, added another layer of tension to the already strained relationships and dynamics within our blended family. After thorough discussions with my boyfriend and his ex, we collectively decided that I would take up a fantastic job opportunity that required us to relocate. To support this transition, we arranged for his ex to rent my house at a significantly reduced price, under the condition that this arrangement would last for only 2 years. However, due to changes in my work situation, we've since moved back to our original hometown. Currently, my boyfriend and I are staying in a modest rental place. But since our return, his ex has become increasingly hostile towards me. She's even gone as far as to tell my boyfriend that his children have always disliked me, claiming their kindness was solely out of respect for him and that they never wish to see me again. She accuses me of attempting to purchase the children's affection, portraying her as an inadequate mother, and essentially blames me for all the negativity in their lives. A notion I find to be quite exaggerated. Despite these accusations, I genuinely care for the children in my own way and would never want to put them in a position where they feel torn or uncomfortable because of me. To ensure they remain at ease, we've arranged for my boyfriend to spend ample time with them and to be present at their extracurricular and school events without me. When my work requires me to travel, that's when the children visit our home. I've suggested the possibility of therapy or counseling to address these issues constructively, but the ex dismisses the idea outright, interpreting it as an attack on her parenting. Now, with the 2-year agreement nearing its end, and me wanting to reclaim my house, she argues that since I can afford both a rental and a mortgage, I should allow her and the children to continue living in the house indefinitely. Given the current state of affairs, where the children have expressed their dislike for me, it seems impractical for just my boyfriend and me to occupy what's perceived as an excessively large space. This sentiment has escalated to the point where his children are now even more upset with me, accusing me of forcing them and their mother out of what they've come to consider their home. My boyfriend is caught in a difficult position, primarily concerned with the well-being and happiness of his children. Before delving into the updates, let's address some of the initial reactions. A prevalent sentiment is that the house in question is not a shared family home, but rather belongs to me. The advice leans heavily against allowing manipulation due to financial disparities between what he and his ex can afford. This situation reminds me of a story about a lottery winner who faced unfair expectations due to her newfound wealth, suggesting that inability to afford a home does not obligate someone to forfeit their property to another. The consensus is to provide the ex with a fair notice such as 1 month, to find alternative accommodation, fully understanding that the children's feelings are beyond my control. If their response is unfavorable, it's important to recognize that their attitudes are shaped by their upbringing, which seems to lack lessons in respect and understanding of boundaries. The decision to allow the ex to stay in the house, though made with generosity, has been met with unwarranted negativity. The ex's interpretation of every action as malicious has unfortunately positioned me as the antagonist for not permanently handing over the house. This situation was somewhat foreseeable, yet it's clear that reclaiming the house might lead to the need for formal eviction processes and potentially dealing with damage to the property as a form of backlash. In summary, the path forward involves reclaiming my house while preparing for the complexities and potential fallout that may accompany such a decision. Being portrayed as the villain in this scenario is unfair to you, OP. It's clear that you are not at fault here, but there's a hint of naivety and a lack of judgment on your part. Engaging in this arrangement was questionable from the start. It prompts a serious reflection on what you're truly gaining from this relationship. The situation appears to be deteriorating and it's unlikely to improve. You're shouldering a financial burden for someone who seems incapable of defending you or standing up for himself. It appears as though you're exerting effort to support both yourself and his children, yet the dynamics suggest otherwise. Your boyfriend's ex seems to have significant influence over your relationship, raising the question of whom you're actually in a relationship with, him or his ex. This situation is not something you need to endure. Life without these complications will likely bring you much relief. You're caught in a conflict that seems unwinnable. Your boyfriend's reluctance to confront his ex about her manipulative behavior and the alienation of his children indicates a deeper issue. Don't you think you deserve more? With your financial stability, you could be enjoying your life rather than being embroiled in endless drama. It's important to consider moving on from worrying about children who are being taught to resent you. The future appears grim if the current trajectory continues. The expectations set by their mother could lead to them demanding your financial support for major life events and necessities, all while disrespecting you. Therapy may seem like a solution, but it's ineffective if their mother continues to influence their perception of you. You're not in the wrong here, but the path ahead looks challenging with the ongoing dynamics. It's crucial to prioritize your well-being and reconsider the viability of this relationship. It seems like your boyfriend has a tendency to yield to any and all requests, with his ex encouraging this behavior at every turn. The advice to distance yourself from this situation by removing them from your life is bold, but might offer a pathway to freedom. Reflecting on what you truly gain from this relationship is crucial. While it may not offer the loving and fulfilling partnership you envisioned, relationships are complex and can't be fully encapsulated in a single post. Despite the financial implications being a significant aspect of your concerns, you've chosen to support your partner due to your own personal circumstances, including having a limited family network and no children of your own. Acknowledging that allowing the ex to rent was a mistake is an important step, and it's clear you've recognized the naivety in hoping for her appreciation. The idea of evicting her, while difficult, has been made somewhat easier by involving a professional agent to manage the process, and your boyfriend is prepared for the consequences. Your guilt concerning the children is understandable, as they are innocent in this complex adult situation. 4 months have passed since my last update, and I've received several requests for more information following my original story. If you're curious about the details, feel free to explore my profile for the backstory. Reflecting on my actions and the feedback from the community, I've come to recognize my mistakes. The realization hit me hard. I was at fault for how I handled things. The desire to reclaim my house was strong, but the thought of living in a space that no longer felt like mine, tainted by the presence of someone I had grown to resent, was unsettling. The house had lost its sense of being my sanctuary, prompting a decisive move on my part. I chose to sell it. Discussing this with my boyfriend, his reaction was lukewarm at best, leaving the decision squarely on my shoulders. I offered his ex the choice to either stay in the house under new ownership or find a new place to live. Her reaction was extreme, to say the least, revealing a shocking development between her and my boyfriend. In my absence due to frequent work-related travel, it appears they rekindled their connection, sharing inappropriate messages and photos alongside complaints about me. She even suggested that should my boyfriend and I part ways, leaving the house to them would solve my space dilemma. Confronting my boyfriend led to a moment of panic on his part before he confessed to everything. He insisted their interactions were emotional rather than physical, driven by loneliness and the need for comfort during my absence. He expressed deep remorse and embarrassment, admitting that the situation stemmed from his feelings of inadequacy and missing his children. This revelation has forced me to reevaluate our relationship and the future of our living arrangements, confronting the complex emotions and decisions that come with such unexpected betrayals. Amidst a whirlwind of excuses and reasons that I won't even bother detailing, the outcome is that I find myself newly single. I've ended the relationship, evicted him, and listed the house for sale. In a fresh start, I've placed an offer on a charming townhouse by the beach, taking a leap into new beginnings. I also ventured into the world of online dating. This seemed like the perfect moment to update the Reddit community, affirming that many of you were right about the direction my life was taking. Life isn't perfect at the moment, but I'm optimistic about finding happiness again. My ex complained about feeling overshadowed by my success, yet he seemed perfectly comfortable with his ex's outrageous behavior. It's ironic how financial concerns became a central theme in their secret communications, especially given that I work tirelessly 3 weeks each month, 12 hours daily to maintain my lifestyle, unlike him, burdened by the responsibilities of fathering 5 children. Reflecting on it, I've come to see my ex in a new light as someone lacking the maturity to handle a partner's success. The societal expectation that men should not feel threatened by their partner's financial achievements seems lost on him. His insecurities were misplaced, focusing on my financial status rather than the genuine issues his ex brought into our lives, which genuinely warranted concern. Their actions, however misguided, have inadvertently done me a favor by revealing their true characters. Through her revelations and his admissions, they've removed themselves from my life, eliminating the constant stress and tension their presence caused. This update marks the closure of a chapter filled with deceit and manipulation, and I'm now moving forward, relieved and ready for whatever comes next. I'm curious if the community would be interested in hearing more about how the saga with the ex and her antics unfolds, but for now, I'm focusing on rebuilding and enjoying a much-needed peace of mind. I've been doing my best to keep myself in the dark about their current circumstances, not so much for their sake, but for the kids. Despite everything that went down between me and their parents, I was a significant part of their lives for a considerable amount of time. The thought of those children possibly facing a tough time because of their parents' reckless decisions does trouble me. It's hard not to think about whether they're in a safe and stable environment now. Living in a small town means running into them or catching glimpses of their lives is somewhat inevitable. Just the other day, I spotted one of the kids from afar while I was near the local market, and my ex was there too, confirming my suspicions that he and his ex might be back together. Seeing them didn't bring up feelings of hurt, it was more a sense of disbelief at their lack of awareness about their own situation. It felt like observing 2 people making obviously poor choices, yet completely oblivious to the consequences. As for their living arrangements and whether they're truly together, I genuinely have no idea. After everything came to light, I offered him the option to stay in the rental while I sought a new place for myself. I left it to my real estate agent to handle the dealings with his ex, making it clear that I wanted minimal involvement. My only requests were to be notified once she vacated the property and when the sales were finalized. The whole situation has been a lesson in distancing myself from the chaos and focusing on my own path forward. While part of me is curious about how they're managing, especially for the kids' sake, I'm consciously choosing to not let their choices impact my peace of mind any longer. I've recently been updated that she is expected to vacate the house by mid-November and the house is set to hit the market by mid-December. Throughout this ordeal, I've chosen to remain deliberately uninformed about their living situation to preserve my mental health. I must admit, the outpouring of support and kindness from everyone here has caught me off guard emotionally. Over the past few months, I've been harshly berating myself for being so naive and overly accommodating in the whole mess. I anticipate some critical remarks may still be on their way, but rest assured, no one is more critical of me than I am at this moment. Moving on to a different dilemma now. Am I wrong for not inviting my children to my wedding? I am a woman who has found love again with a man, 39, who has never been married. This marks my second walk down the aisle after a painful ending to my first marriage, which concluded when my husband left me for another woman. He proposed a substantial financial settlement for the divorce, which I accepted and used to start a new life abroad, where I met my current fiancé. My adult children, a 27-year-old son and a 25-year-old daughter, are upset they weren't invited to the ceremony. They learned of my upcoming nuptials through other family members. My decision to exclude them was deliberate, stemming from their persistent attempts to mend bridges between me, my ex-husband, and the woman he left me for. The expectation placed upon me to forgive and befriend my ex-husband's partner felt like a profound disrespect. Despite our divorce 5 years ago when my children were 23 and 20, they wished for me to not only accept my ex's new relationship, but to actively support it. My ex-husband even had the audacity to seek my blessing, claiming he still valued me as a friend and the mother of his children. My ex-husband's affair was a profound betrayal, and it was astonishing to him that I chose to cut off contact following his actions. Despite this, my children believed I should forgive him and maintain a friendship. They even went as far as organizing lunches or dinners under the guise of family gatherings, only to have my ex and his mistress unexpectedly show up. Family events would include her, and I would be misled about the timing to ensure we crossed paths. My children seem unable to accept that he and I do not communicate and are pushing for reconciliation. Given this backdrop, is it unreasonable that I chose not to invite my children to my wedding? The responses I've received lean heavily towards support for my decision. Many feel that, given my children's past actions, there's a risk they might cause distress at my wedding. Furthermore, there's widespread disbelief at the insensitivity of both my children and ex-husband for pressing me to endorse an affair that led to so much pain. It appears my children might be under the impression that my blessing of my ex-husband's new relationship would somehow absolve him of his wrongdoing. The notion that he still regards me as his best friend and the mother of his children, yet treated me with such disregard, seems to expose a misunderstanding of what true friendship entails. To them, best friend might as well mean convenient doormat. Regrettably, it might require them experiencing a similar form of betrayal to fully grasp the depth of the hurt they've dismissed. Congratulations on your marriage! I hope they never go through the pain I went through, thank you. I never thought I would get remarried, but he won me over. Hi. Not the hi email. Something like this to your children. You weren't invited to my wedding because you don't respect my boundaries. On multiple occasions you have ambushed me with your father's and the woman he cheated on me with presence at events in which you assured me they wouldn't be there. Your father cheated on me, yet you criticize me and apparently absolve him of the wrongdoing that he did to me. I don't know how your ethical beliefs got so twisted, but this behavior was hurtful and wrong. I'm not in contact with you for those reasons. If you ever decide that there was no justification for your father's cheating and that I deserve to be treated in a loving and respectful way, I will happily welcome you back into my life. Not alone. I was very ready to say you're the asshole after reading the title. My father has been married 3 times since our parents divorced, and neither myself nor my sisters have ever been invited to any of the weddings, and we always thought we had a good relationship with our dad. If you're not in contact with them for your own mental health, then no, you're not required to invite them. A gentle reminder: you don't have to be the bigger person. You don't have to accept insincere apologies. You don't have to tolerate relationships that drain you. You don't have to spend your whole life showing up for people who have no interest in showing up for you. Last story for making it clear to my ex, Lynn, that her children are not my responsibility nor my son's. Lynn attempted to persuade me to relinquish my custody rights so her new husband could adopt my son, aiming for a family dynamic that excluded me entirely. I stood my ground, incurring significant legal expenses but ultimately securing shared custody. A 50-50 arrangement with my son. Lynn and her husband later had 2 children together, but she became ill with cancer. The man she left me for abandoned her amid her health struggles. During this time, my son, who was 14, found himself in the position of primary caregiver for his half-siblings, which began to take a toll on his academic performance. I praised him for his compassion and dedication to his siblings, yet I stressed that it shouldn't come at the expense of his own future. Upon confronting Lynn about the situation, she expressed a desire to sever financial ties with her ex, believing that accepting child support would simply allow him to compensate for his absence with money. While I could somewhat understand her perspective, I made it clear that if her decisions were going to jeopardize my son's future, I would be compelled to seek full custody and request child support from her to ensure his well-being and academic prospects were protected. Lynn accused me of meddling in her marital affairs and suggested that my actions were motivated by lingering bitterness from our breakup. However, that couldn't be further from the truth. While it's true that her departure initially left me devastated and longing for reconciliation, I've since moved on and found contentment in my current life. I want to clarify, especially for those quick to pass judgment, that Lynn is financially stable and fully capable of providing child support. It's unreasonable for my son to be burdened with the role of an unpaid caregiver, juggling his academic responsibilities, when alternatives like daycare or hiring a nanny are well within their means. It appears I stand alone in advocating for my son's welfare, emphasizing the importance of his education and personal growth amidst these complex family dynamics. Before anyone critiques my stance, it's essential to recognize that the responsibility for caring for Lynn's children shouldn't fall on my son. While it's commendable for siblings to support each other, expecting him to assume a parental role is unfair and detrimental to his childhood and development. The children's fathers, including myself, are prepared to fulfill our responsibilities, suggesting that if Lynn is unable to care for them due to her illness, alternative arrangements should be explored rather than defaulting to my son's involvement. This situation has led me to consider pursuing full custody to ensure my son can focus on being a kid, enjoying his youth without undue burdens. Moreover, in light of the circumstances, consulting child services for guidance and potentially to reinforce my case for custody might be a prudent step. This isn't about undermining Lynn, but ensuring that the children's needs are met appropriately and that my son's rights and well-being are protected. Looking back on this entire saga, I feel a strange mix of liberation and lingering ache. For 7 years, I poured my heart, time, and resources into building something I thought was a partnership, only to realize I was often the only one holding up the foundation. There were moments of genuine joy, like watching the kids light up in the backyard I designed for them, or quiet evenings with my boyfriend that felt like home. But those memories now sit alongside the sting of betrayal, the exhaustion of constant mediation, and the quiet grief of letting go of a future I had carefully planned. Ending. It wasn't just about the house or the cheating, it was about reclaiming my voice. I spent too long shrinking myself to keep the peace, apologizing for boundaries, and absorbing blame that was never mine to carry. The day I signed the listing agreement, I cried, not from loss, but from relief. The weight lifted. For the first time in years, my choices were truly mine again. I miss the idea of what we could have been, but I don't miss the reality of what we became. I'm proud of how far I've come, from someone who over-accommodated out of kindness, or maybe fear of being alone, to a woman who now chooses peace over performance. The townhouse by the beach isn't just a new address, it's a declaration. I get to wake up to the sound of waves, not arguments. I get to build a life that honors my effort, my worth, and my joy. To anyone reading this still caught in the tangle, you are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it means closing doors you once fought to keep open. Healing isn't linear, and some days the guilt still whispers, but most days I breathe easier. I laugh louder. I'm learning that love shouldn't require you to dim your light to make others comfortable, and for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see who I become when I'm no longer carrying someone else's chaos.